Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with episode number 18 in our incredible new tutorial series where you're knowing where you're going with your ultimate GPS tracker project on the Raspberry Pi Pico W. What I will need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee, poured over ice, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And as you're pouring your coffee, let's discuss a little bit about what I am going to be teaching you today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my solution to the homework assignment that I gave you in lesson number 17. But I must start by asking, were you able to do it? If you could do it, leave a comment in the chat or a comment under the video. I am legend. Double chest bump. And if you weren't able to do it, leave a comment. I folded up like a cheap Walmart lawn chair. Now, actually, I think if you've been following along in this video series, it should be pretty straightforward to do this, because I think back in something around lesson number 15, what we had done was we had a working GPS project. We had a working GPS project where you had a button, an SSD 1306 OLED display, you had the Adafruit GPS, you had all of that stuff set up. Let me go ahead and show you that. And let me get out of your way here. We had this thing up and running, and the last time that we had this configured, it was sitting and taking the GPS points. It was measuring lat, lon, heading, elevation, how fast you were going, all types of interesting information, and then we could display it on the screen. On that last version, we also could hit the button at a data point, go to a different point. We could walk somewhere, hit a button, and then walk somewhere else, drive somewhere else, fly somewhere else, and then hit the button again. And then it would tell you the distance between those 2 points that you had logged in. So we've done a lot with this project. Hopefully you are pretty familiar with it now. But what your assignment for this week was to take this, that last one that we had working, and when you press the button, have it begin to log data, and then log data as long as you want. And when you're ready to stop logging, to press the button again, and then it would stop logging and it would go back to your first screen where it's just displaying where you are on the GPS. Okay, so that's what I'm going to show you today. The reason I think it should be easy is that I showed you in the last couple of lessons how to log lab data on the Pico W. So really this lesson was just going to be kind of reviewing, or it's going to be putting together different little blocks that we had learned in earlier lessons. So it's a logical follow-on to what we had been doing. So enough of this talking. Let's jump in and get busy. I will need you to go to the most excellent www.toptechboy.com. You're going to use this happy little search tool here, and you're going to search on that last GPS program that we had, which was measure distance between two GPS points with the Haversine equations. Now, we're not doing that today, but we're going to start there because that code is, it didn't copy it. That code is 90% of the way to where we need to be in order to get this to work. Okay, copied. That time it copied. And then for you guys that are just tuning in on this lesson, this is the schematic of how we have this whole thing hooked up. It's kind of like this is going to be a hard class to just jump in on lesson number 18, but hopefully most of you guys have been following along, and if you have, this will make excellent sense. So let's start with where we left off last time, and so I am going to paste the code here. Let's see if we can get this view here, and let's just make sure the universe is in proper working order. And so we will run this thing. Looks like it is running, and the thing has started. And now if I come over here, that's not the view that you want. Okay, that's good enough. We'll worry about it later. But if I press the button, it goes to the logging. Okay, now if I, oh no, it goes to the first position. Okay, that was for getting a data point to measure distance, and then it gets the second data point, and then it calculates the distance between the 2 points and the heading. And we're not going to be doing that today, but we're going to use this program because it has the basic flow that we want. All right, so now what am I thinking about how we're going to make this work? Well, we already sort of have the program flow working. And remember, the program flow is up here in this function display OLED, because this controls what is shown to the screen. So what it starts out as, and you've got this concept of system state. And so what it starts out in system state 0, and then it does this stuff. First of all, just to be complete, it starts out and it makes sure that you get a fix. It waits till you get a fix, and then if you have a fix, then it goes through and decides what to do. If you haven't pressed the button yet, you're in system state 0, and you're just showing the data as it's coming in live on the little OLED screen. And I'm going to take that off for now. Okay, I'm going to take that off for now. And it shows what's your current position. Then in system state 1, what it does is it records the present position, and then in system state 2, it records the new position, and then it calculates the distance between them. But what you see is you're just wrapping through different states. So in this, what states are we going to have? Well, state 0 is going to be the state where we're just sitting there and we are displaying live your present location. And what I'm going to change about state 1, I'm going to give a prompt at the bottom to press the button to start logging data. And then you will go to state 1, which is the second state, because 0, 1. In the second state, what we're going to do is we're going to start saving the data that's coming in from the GPS to a log file. Press the button again, you'll go to state 3, which will stop logging, and we'll just display a message that we stopped logging, and then we'll go back to 0. All right, so we're going to go 0, 1, 2, which is going to be 3 different states. All right, I hope that makes sense. So let's jump in here. Let's go up to the top of the code, because there's a couple of things we're going to have to do up here at the very top. And right, what are we going to want to be doing here? We're going to be wanting to log data. And so what I'm going to do is, there might already be a log file there, so I want to erase the log file to begin with. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say with open. What am I going to open? The log.txt file, and that needs to be in single quotes. The log.txt file, like that, and I'm going to open it as write. Now, just by opening it as write, what it's going to do is it will erase it. And so then I'll just say open it as file. So the object file is associated with this actual text file. And so now what do? We do absolutely nothing. We just pass. Just the act of opening is going to is going to erase it. And when we do with open, it actually takes care of the closing for you. So this is all copacetic. Please don't leave a comment saying close your file, because with open closes it for you. So that's pretty good. What I think we want to do now is we want to go down to that OLED part of the program. And I just need a second here to get down there. All right, so we're going to come down to the OLED part of the program, and that is where our action is going to happen. Man, this is getting to be a pretty long program, isn't it? Okay, so now here we are. We're going to do this. We're going to check to see if we have a fix. Then if we have a fix, we're going to start through that logical program flow. So if we're in state 0, that means that the button has not been pushed yet. And so in state 0, we're going to display the present lat, lon, and the number of sats. We're going to put a title on the top of it. That thing is running from earlier. Let me kill that. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now the button hasn't been pressed yet, so we want to clear the screen. We want to put on there interesting data, and then I think what I'm going to put on there, what should I do here? I want on there as much as I can. I think I have room for one more line of code, so I'm going to come up here. I'm going to say display.text, and then what am I going to display? Press btn to log. Okay, so I'm just prompting them on that first screen to press the button if they want to log data. And I think there is room here. I think I can go to the row 56 or pixel 56 down, and I think there's still enough room to fix that. I'm going to have to take a second here. I really want to have the right picture here on this, so let's see if I can fix this. Okay, let me see. Yeah, that's what we want to see. All right, that was relatively painless, wasn't it? Okay, so now we come, let's run it just to make sure that we've got that on the bottom of the screen. Okay, there it is, and it says press button to log, and so that does look good. We will kill that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back to this view to make sure that that little thing doesn't cover up any of the code. And we're going to stop the program cleanly with Control-C. Boom, that's very good. Now, what do we want to do if system state is 1? What we want to do is we want to begin to log the data. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stuff out, and this was to measure distance. We're not going to do that anymore. If you want to do that, you can make your program fancier, but I don't want to try to make it do everything that it's done before. I just want to have this version of the program be able to log data. So I'm going to get my latitude, and that latitude is going to be equal to the string value of the GPS data. And so I think that the latitude, do you see up here we did the latitude? I am just going to grab that because I think that is what we want. And so we're going to grab that and we're going to come down here and we're going to say that the latitude is going to be the string of the GPS data of the lat.dd. And that will make sense if you've been following along with this lesson. And then we also want a string for the lawn, and the string for the lawn was up here like this. Make sure this time I get that ending parenthesis. Okay. And now lat is the string value of the present latitude, lon is the string value of the present longitude. Now I want to create my lat lon string that I am going to log. What do I want to log? I want to log the lat. I'm going to concatenate that with a comma because we want it comma delimited. I'm going to concatenate that with a lon. And if you did this, it would look right, but it wouldn't work very well because what do you need? You need that new line. So you go to a new line so that things are going to stack nicely when we write them. So I'm going to add to that the new line, which is the backslash. That is the slash above the enter key on most keyboards in, like that. And that is a character that we will put in a string. And then that should be good. So what is lat long? It's going to be your present latitude value, comma, your present longitude value, and then go to the next line. I think that's right. Okay, so now what do we want to do? Now we want to write that. Well, I'm going to try to do it kind of carefully, so I'll do it in a try and except. And so in the try, I'm going to try to, with open, what do we want? The log.txt file, all right? And now log.txt. And now what do we want to open it as? If we open it, we certainly wouldn't open it as a read, but if we opened it as a write, every time we came to this in the loop, it would erase the old data. So what do I want to do? I want to append it. Okay, and then as file. Now file is the object we will interact with. It is tied to the actual file log.txt, but in Python this is our object to interact with. Now what am I going to do? That needed a semicolon like that. Okay, now what am I going to do? I'm going to do a simple file dot write, which is going to append it. What do I want to write? That lat lon that I just created, like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a file.flush, and that just kind of cleans things up. And now what I'm going to do is I just want to give it time for that to write, and so I'm going to do a time.sleep of let's say 0.1 seconds, just to give it a little time to get its work done. All right, now if there's an error in there, I want to see what the error is, and so I'm going to say except on exception, so like if there's a problem, and then grab the error. All right, and then what I'm going to print here is print. I'm going to print file write error. And what is that? That's just a tag. And now I want to actually print out the error, E. Right. Now, this is something new that we're doing in this program, and it's a long program. So if something goes wrong, I want it to kind of tell me what it was that went wrong. Okay, so now what do we want to do? We want to go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to fill the display with zeros, because I want to display something here. I want to display something here. And so what do I want to display? Now I'm going to display .text. I want to tell it that we are logging data. So you want the user to look on the little OLED screen and see that he is logging data like that. Okay, and that's going to go on the first row on the 0th column like that. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and display where I am, which is going to be text. And then I think that I can display, I think that I can just display lat, comma, lon, like that. Or I think I need to display, is lat a string already? I think we made it a string. Yeah, lat is the string already, so I can just do the lat plus a comma and then the lon, lat plus the lon. No, I'm not gonna do it this way. I'm just trying to think of what I want it to look like. Let's go ahead. We put the I want to keep this. Okay, I want to keep that. Let's go ahead and put the time on there. And I think I can get some code up here that does the time and the date. And that is this line of code that does the date and the time. And I think I want that on this screen as well. So we're copying. You know, some people really get mad about me copying and pasting, but do you really want me to see me write this, see me continue to type these long lines of code out and then the associated problem? So this then is going to be on 16. Let me get a little further out of your way. That's going to be on pixel 16 down, and that should work. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say display.text, and let's go ahead and put let's go ahead and put the lat long, the present lat long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the label lat, and then I'm going to concatenate that with the lat value on 0.26, which should be the next line down. Now I want to make absolutely positively sure that lat is a string, and we defined it up here as a string, so that should just work exactly like that. And then we're going to put it on 0.26, and then I'm going to display.text. I'm going to display the present lon value like that. And I think I'm going to put colons there just to make it look a little easier. Okay, then that's going to concatenate with the lon, and that's going to be 0,36. Now you might ask why the first line is at 0 and the second line is at 16. Why didn't I put this as 10? Because the line will fit on 10. Because my OLED has a little yellow strip at the top, and if you just put it 10, then that next line is half yellow and half blue. So I get this down to the blue part of it, and now I can just increment by 10 each, and the things will fix. Hope that makes sense. All right, now what we need to do is we need to say display dot t. Man, this is TEXXT. That's right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it, give it a prompt, btn to btn stop logging. Why am I doing these abbreviations? You don't have very many characters to work with, so I'm going to be pretty careful. And that then is going to be on 0, I think I'll put it at the bottom, 56. And so it's going to skip a line in there. All right. Now this makes me a little uncomfortable. So what I want to do is I just want to see if that part of the program works so far. And so what I'll do is I'll come over here and I'll show you this, and then let's run it and see what happens. Okay, it's looking good, and then it comes to life, and then it says press button to log. And then if I press the button to log, it didn't die, and it says BTN stop logging. And you see I can't say BTN to stop logging, but I'm just prompting it for the button. Now I'm not going to do anything else, right? I'm not going to do anything else because we haven't define those new button states yet, but I think we're in really nice shape that worked as cleanly as it did. So now what we need to do, that was system state 1, right? That was system state 1. Well, what if we press the button again? Okay, what if we press the button again? Well, now we will be in system state 2, and what do we want to do in system state 2? What we want to do is we want to prompt the user that it got the button push, and we want to stop logging. Okay, so I'm going to display with fill, and then on that first line, I'm going to tell the person that the logging has stopped. So I'm going to say logging stopped like that, and that would be on the upper line. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and display the date like that. That's fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and display the lat and the lon. And so what I'm going to do here is that was the P1 lat and all that nonsense. So I'm just going to say here on this line, I'm going to put the lat. That was that last lat. And then on this line, I'm going to put that last lon. Okay, but now we had described this as up here, lat and lon. And so I better print those, which are, and they're already strings. And so this is just going to be lat, and this is just going to be lon, because I already described those. Now we don't want to print any of this stuff because we have already stopped logging. Okay, now at this point, what do we want to do? At this point, we want to show it. So I'm going to say display.show like that. Okay, and now at this point, what do I want to do? I want to go to sysstate is equal to 0. So the next time through, what it's going to do is it's going to go back and it's going to just say, be showing the data and say press 1 to log or press the button to log. Well, now if you press the button to log, it would erase the log file that we just created. All right. Now I think I'm going to give it like 2 seconds for you to see this. And so then what I'm going to do is a time.sleep, and I'll give it 2 seconds, and then it'll start up again. But it just registers to you that you've stopped the data log, and then it's going to go back to system state 0. So if I have 0, 1, 2, that's 3 states, and so I should probably really do this as mod 3s. And so I should mod it with 3 because I don't have 5 states, I've got 3 states. And this really doesn't matter because I'm resetting it manually. I hope I did that right. 3, 3, 3. Okay. And you really don't have to do the mod here because why? When you get down to this state, you're going to force it back to your first state. But I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this other stuff. Okay. I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff because we only have 3 states. So state 0, reading data. State 1, logging data. State 2 is stopping logging, and then you go back to 0. Does that make sense? Somehow this seems pretty easy. Could it really be that easy? Let's make sure here in system state 2, I do a display show, and then this is display show for some of those earlier ones where you're not in the if statement, like if you're doing waiting on fix. This one is still needed. Okay, now what I'm going to do is to really test this, even though it erases this log file to begin with, I'm going to erase it just to make sure that I am getting a new log file. Because if the program wasn't working, I would go over, oh, there's a log file there. I would open it. Oh, there's data in it, but maybe that was when, from a lesson I did a few weeks ago. So I want to start with no log file just to make sure that it'll create it. Okay. Let's run this thing from this side, okay? And then it looks like it's going to run. So we're going to come over here to this view. Is that? Yeah, that's running. Okay, let's come over here to this view, and you can see that it's logging. Boom, so far so good. I mean that it's running. And now what does it say? Press button to log. I press the button, and now what does it say? Logging data. And it gives me the prompt, press the button again, button stop logging. Okay, now I'm going to stop logging. It shows me my last position, and it says that, whoa, it crashed. It crashed. Okay, so what was the problem? It was line 293 that it didn't like. 293, that's way on down there. What happened? That is most perplexing, isn't it? $293 display OLED. That doesn't. Let's look at 247 and see what that is. Okay, this indeed is where I am. Okay, Eslon was an error like that. Okay. Whew. That one scared me a little bit. Now, it killed the program. Hopefully, it killed the thread. But if this doesn't work, we'll know what the problem is. Let me let you see this. That we'll need to unplug and plug it back in. Okay, but it looks like it's happy. And it looks like it is going to run. And so I'll come over here. And so it is taking live data. It's displaying live data. It's telling me to press the button to log. So I'll press it. It got the button press. It is what? Logging data. All right. And then it says press the button again to stop logging data. I press the button again and it crashed again. Still doesn't like line 247. What is my problem in line 247? Okay. Reference before assignment in line 247. Man, I sure thought that I had defined lat and I had defined lawn. Okay, this is the problem. This is the problem. Okay, the problem is that I defined lat up here and I defined lon here. So it will know lat and lon as long as I am in this if statement. But then what happens? You leave this display OLED function, and then you come back to it. And when you come back to it, it forgets what those two values are, because these values in this function are not persistent. They're persistent as long as you're in the function, but if you leave the function, it forgets them. So what do I need to do? I need to actually get this and go out and get it again, because it doesn't remember what it was. And so that is like that. And then I'll do the same thing with the lon. Does that make sense what I just said? It's a subtle error, and it's one that is quite frightening. It's one that is quite frightening because it seems like it should work. Okay, so I open the string, close the string, and then I've got lat and lon. And so now what I'm doing is I'm just grabbing them again so that I don't get that error. Okay, and then sysstate 0. I think that should work. So let's go ahead and let's run the program. Okay, it looks like it's going to be happy. So let's come over here where you can see it. Okay, so it is up and running. Ultimate GPS telling me to press the button to log, and so I press it, and then what am I doing? I am logging data. And now the moment of truth, can I stop logging? It looks like I'll probably have 7 or 8 points. I'll stop logging. It didn't crash. It shows me the last point that I logged, and now I'm back to sysstate 0, and I should have a log file at this point. But let's come over here and let's look. And so let's go ahead and kill that program, because I don't, and remember Control-C to kill it. Control-C exits cleanly. If you hit the stop button, you might end up with the thread still running. Okay, you might end up with that thread still running. And so now you come over here and you say, no log file. But what have I taught you? You have to come here and you have to refresh, and then boom, log file. Let's look at that log file, and boom, look at that, 8 lines. It's a nice clean lat, comma, nice clean lon, and then each lat lon is on its own. Ooh, that almost, my chair feels like it almost broke. Okay. Each lat lon is on its own line. Okay, now if you want to save more data than that, over there in that, what was it? Over there in that sysstate, 1, you can log more data. Okay, you can log more data instead of just logging, and that is in up here. We display all this stuff. If sysstate 1, where we create this string that we write, you could put lat, comma, lon, and then you could put elevation, you could put heading, you could put number of satellites, you could do whatever. Just remember that you might have to go get them like this. Okay, you might have to use this method to go get those things, but now you can log whatever data you want. Now, why didn't I just log everything? Because remember that you got a megabyte of data, and how quickly can you log the data, and then how long do you want it to run? And so I think that if you logged 1 a second, you might be able to get like an hour. If I were just to get an hour of data, if you logged every 5 seconds, you see, so you got to figure out how frequently you want to log, because the more frequently you log, the shorter the number of hours you can log over. But on something like this, if you logged a minute, you could get days and days of data. So you can kind of play around with that, but just understand that at some point you're going to use that megabyte up. Like if you were going to drive across the country, and you don't want to overflow that megabyte of data that you have. Now the flash memory on the Pico W is 2 megabytes. The flash memory on the Pico is 2 megabytes, but you've got a megabyte for the firmware, so you got a megabyte sort of for your programs and data. All right. I think for completeness, the other thing I should do is just run it again to make sure, like I'll leave it running a little bit longer this time. First of all, make sure that it will run a second time. It looks like it's going to run a second time. Okay, that's looking good. I'll say start logging, and it is start logging. Let's let it run a little bit longer to make sure that we got more than 8 data points and we know that we erased the file correctly and the new data log file is created. This is wonderful stuff, wonderful stuff. I got to tell you guys, remember, this is not on. These lights are lit up because the power is coming this way, but this is not turned on. This is safe, but you never want to turn this on while this is plugged in. And so it's okay for it to be here, but it's switched to the off position. Now, why do I have it here? Because it's taking the 5 volts here and it's bringing it around to 3.3 volts over here. So it's actually doing a function the way that I have it shown here. All right, I think that's good. Let's see if we can stop the log. It looks like it says logging stop. That looks good. There, boom, it goes back up to the top. We'll come over here and we'll stop the program, Control C. And now let's look at that log file. Look, that log file did not get bigger. What's wrong? Oh, yeah, it did. Okay. I had to close it and then open it. And so you can see there that that is much longer than it was before. So everything looks good. We have this thing working. All right, guys, man, can you believe the amount of progress we've made in 18 lessons? We have done some really great work here. Really cool. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Now, this is your homework assignment for next week. Your homework assignment is to save the file, to save your program as main.py. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to unplug it, and then when you turn the power on the Breadvolt, it's going to come up and it's going to run the program because it always tries to run main.py. And so you're going to run main.py. You're going to go around somewhere. You're going to go traveling around creating a log file. Then you're going to stop it. The log file is now on the Pico W. The log file is now on the Pico W. And then I want you to transfer it over to the PC. Then on the PC side, I just want you to open it to show that you got the log file over. Now, we've written the program here in this lesson. So the program is written, you save it as main.py. And then what you do is you go out, you log data, and then you come in and you transfer the data over to the Pico W. Now, most of you guys are thinking that this is going to be like a 5-minute project, and then you're going to have a real tracker going. Okay, but I'll tell you, for me, how long did it take me to do it? 2 weeks. Okay, so as simple as it sounds, you might run into a snag. What could that snag be? Maybe you won't run into a snag, okay? But see if you can do it. See if you can do it. I'll show you my solution next week. So try as hard as you can. I'd be happy if 1 or 2 of you were able to do this. But if you run into a snag, just know that I warned you that there's some unseen pitfalls in this project. Work as hard as you can to get it to work, and then don't feel bad if you don't get it. I'll show you next week my solution. Okay, guys, I hope you're having as much fun with this project as I am with it. I'm really, really loving this project, having a lot of fun with it. Hope you guys are enjoying it. It's at this point in the program that I always give a big shout out to you guys who are standing with me on Patreon. Without your financial support, I would not be able to continue to produce this fresh, in-depth, quality content every single week. So thank you guys. Love you. Appreciate what you're doing for me. You can also help by giving this video a thumbs up and leaving a comment down below. That'll help us with the old YouTube juice. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. When you do, ring that bell so you get notification when future lessons drop. And most importantly, share this video with other people, because the world needs more people doing engineering projects and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.